In the main event of UFC 209, Tyron Woodley will be defending his UFC welterweight title against number 1 ranked welterweight Stephen Thompson. In their first fight at UFC 205, Tyron Woodley was able to take Stephen Thompson down in the first round and was able to bloody him up very badly with his vicious elbows. As the fight progressed, Stephen Thompson was able to use his distance and was able to pick Tyron Woodley apart. His unorthodox fighting style was able to freeze Tyron Woodley over the rounds and had him backed up against the fence majority of the time. Tyron Woodley seemed very hesitant, and it seems as though he was just looking for that one punch to connect for the first few rounds. Tyron Woodley had success in the fourth round where he was able to stun Stephen Thompson with the overhand right and knocked him down with another bomb, almost finishing him. He had an unsuccessful attempt at a guillotine choke where Stephen Thompson was able to pop his head out. After a very close back and forth contest, the fight was ruled a majority draw. Now that both fighters have spent 25 minutes with each other inside the octagon, I believe both fighters know what worked for them and what didn't, and they will capitalize on what they were successful with in the fight. I believe Stephen Thompson will be more aware of Tyron Woodley's bombs. He will also pressure Tyron Woodley against the fence and will remain patient. I believe just like the first fight, Tyron Woodley will still look for that one punch to knock Stephen Thompson out, which may be his downfall. I believe if he uses striking with his wrestling together, he will definitely be victorious. I believe this fight will remain on the feet, just like the first one. This is a very tough pick, but I believe Stephen Thompson will do a better job of picking his shots and will catch Tyron Woodley coming in. I feel his pressure and his patience will give him the unanimous decision victory. In the co-main event, Khabib Nurmagomedov will be facing off against Tony Ferguson for the interim UFC lightweight title. Khabib Nurmagomedov last defeated Michael Johnson by submission via Kimura lock in the third round. Tony Ferguson last defeated former champion Rafael dos Anjos by a unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night 98. When breaking this fight down, Khabib Nurmagomedov has just mauled everyone he has faced so far with his high-level sambo. He has just overpowered his opponents with his relentless pressure combined with his ferocious ground and pound, where his opponents are left helpless, unable to do anything. Tony Ferguson, on the other hand, is both a great striker and has a very deadly ground game. He has shown in his fights that he can keep his opponents at distance with his long reach and can lock in a submission from anywhere. He is a very tricky opponent whose wild fighting style has given him great success inside the octagon. But the big question is, will Khabib Nurmagomedov be able to do to Tony Ferguson what he has done to all of his opponents? When Tony Ferguson faced Danny Castillo at UFC 177, Danny Castillo was able to take Tony Ferguson down and was able to hold him there, where Tony Ferguson had trouble getting up. We also saw Khabib Nurmagomedov get cleanly hit by Michael Johnson in his last fight, which may give Tony Ferguson some confidence. I believe if this fight remains on the feet, Tony Ferguson will have great success at keeping Khabib at distance, which may give him trouble shooting for a takedown. But if Khabib is able to take Tony down, I believe we will see him pin Tony down and just maul him, just like he has done to all of his opponents. Both fighters have such a high level game, but I'm slightly leaning towards Khabib. I believe Khabib will eventually grab a hold of Tony Ferguson and take him down to the canvas, punish him and eventually submit him in the third round. For the rest of the main card, Rashad Evans will be making his middleweight debut and will be facing off against Dan Kelly in a 3-round middleweight bout. Rashad Evans last lost to Glover Teixeira by knockout in the first round at UFC on Fox 19. Dan Kelly last defeated Chris Camozzi by a unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night 101. When breaking this fight down, Rashad Evans has faced top competition throughout his mixed martial arts career. Only just recently, we have seen a massive decline in his ability. But I believe the drop down to the middleweight division will be a fresh new start for him, where we might see a more quick and explosive Rashad Evans. Dan Kelly, on the other hand, has had a great career in the UFC so far, where he has put together a record of 5-1 in the UFC. I believe this fight may be a big jump in competition for Dan Kelly, as he will be facing a former champion in Rashad Evans. I believe Rashad Evans will mix his striking with his takedowns to win the fight by a unanimous decision. Lando Vannata will face David Teimo in a 3-round lightweight bout. Lando Vannata last knocked out John Makdessi by a wheel kick at UFC 206. David Teimo last defeated Jason Novelli by knockout in the second round at UFC Fight Night 92. Both fighters are aggressive and have looked very impressive inside the octagon. I believe it will be a very fast-paced fight where both fighters will look to end the fight quick. I believe overall, Lando Vannata seems to have a slightly better overall game than David Teimo. I believe his unpredictable style will give David Teimo a lot of problems and will win the fight by a unanimous decision. Alistair Overeem will face Mark Hunt in a 3-round heavyweight bout. Alistair Overeem was last knocked out by Stipe Miocic in the first round at UFC 203. Mark Hunt lost to Brock Lesnar at UFC 200, where the fight was ruled a no contest after Brock Lesnar tested positive for banned substances. Both Alistair Overeem and Mark Hunt fought each other at Dream 5, where Alistair Overeem submitted Mark Hunt via an Americana in the first round. Since that fight, both fighters have evolved as mixed martial artists. I believe Alistair Overeem will use a lot of movement movement and will keep Mark Hunt at distance, but I believe Mark Hunt will eventually catch Alistair Overeem with a bomb, eventually finishing him by knockout in the second round. Here are my predictions for the prelims. Let me know your predictions in the comment section below. Thank you.